Welcome back to Fear and Beer, a Halloween Horror Nights podcast. Join us as we venture year-round into the fog.
Make sure you give us a like and a follow on your podcast platform of choice. Also, be sure to check out our YouTube page where we upload every episode in its video format, and maybe a few other surprises as well.
Make sure you're following us on social media to keep up to date with our newest haunted content.
I'm Nick.
I'm Seamus.
I'm Jamie.
Well, we asked earlier this week if you wanted us to have a special guest, and everybody, except like two people, you hate fun apparently, said no. But we didn't listen because we just don't really care that much what you have to say. We're going to do what we want. So we invited Ryan from For the Love of Theme Parks onto the pod this week. Ryan, thank you for joining us. Welcome. Hello. All that fun stuff. If anybody listening is not already following for some odd reason, he'll give his socials out. But Ryan, we've been following your stuff for a while. It's hilarious. It's informative. It's very well captured. So it's truly an honor to have you on with us for this fun little, kind of creative style episode.
Well, thank you so much for having me. I love Halloween Horror Nights. I'm a diehard, but I don't have a lot of opportunity to talk about it. So that was kind of the reason when you guys shot me a DM. I'm like, yeah, you know what? I can only really cover it upwards, like end of summer, even into the season. And then my followers are not really interested. So I'm happy that I could come here in the middle of winter, the dead of winter, to talk about spooky season.
Yep, and that's our thing. We got it year round, and you cover not just obviously Horror Nights like you said, but Disney, Universal, like all theme parks. I saw you went. I forget where the location was to find that Mickey fast food restaurant, but you went to some mall in the middle of nowhere.
That was super cool.
Actually, I did kind of. I made people believe that I went to the middle of nowhere. It's actually like close to my hometown. So I was home for Thanksgiving and I was like, oh, I'm going to pretend like I went to Woodfield, Illinois. Like, yeah, no, I didn't just randomly go there.
Insider trading. But yeah. So, and we've seen you at Horror Nights a couple times. So we obviously knew this is going to be something right up your alley with that whole theme park world. And like you said, gives you a chance to kind of dive deeper into it for a little bit. So on this week's episode, we decided to kind of get the creative juices flowing. And we asked you all on Instagram as well, if you could pick any sort of HHN original content, it could be a scare zone, a house, just an icon itself. Who would you cast as the character? How would you kind of place it in pop culture? Would it be a movie or a series? Who would direct these projects? And we got a lot of answers, and it's funny because a lot of those answers were sort of what my mind was going towards anyways. But on this episode, we're just going to kind of spitfire here a couple different properties or characters that we think would be pretty cool to see in some sort of live action format. But before we jump right into that, I do have my beer to crack. I found this at Publix actually, but I think this is some sort of special brew, but is the 6-Man Lager from Crooked Can. It's all Orlando Magic themed. Crooked Can, obviously, a little microbrew from Winter Garden. And I don't expect it to be anything too crazy, but, it stood out. I had to get it. It just made sense. Orlando. We're here. That's what it is. So let's jump in right off the bat. I think possibly the number one thing that everyone's mind would kind of go towards would be icons. How would the icons be involved in a supposed project? And I'm kind of surprised that Universal has never even kind of explored this avenue of taking these in-depth creations and putting them into a different media format, because the amount of work that they put into crafting these characters and backstories, it's crazy. When you go on these tours, they have so much information about each little nuance of the story, and they just leave it in one form of media, being a haunted house. So it's very surprising to me that they don't venture and try to partner up with like a Blumhouse or something on Peacock or something along that. But icons, I pitched mine as sort of this anthology series. Each episode is sort of a different icon, and it kind of bleeds into the next. At the end, you sort of get like a little stinger. cliffhanger to allude towards that next icon in the next episode. So we'll start off the bat. If anybody else has suggestions for these icons, this will be the time. So we'll go. So right off the bat, Jack the Clown, I viewed it as an older one. So I put Jack Nicholson.
So
Just like an absolute ridiculous. I mean, he's played the Joker, so it was a clown style character. But that was where my mind kind of went. Jamie, you said you had the same?
I did too. I put Jack Nicholson or Bill Skarsgård, but I think I was just leaning towards that because seeing him as Pennywise, and I thought he'd be kind of fitting for it.
Any other thoughts on Jack the Clown?
Yeah, I got Colin Farrell.
Oh, weird? After the Penguin research?
Yeah, I mean, I initially thought Penguin, he's pretty incredible how he just disappears into that makeup and you completely forget that it's him. But I guess that kind of defeats the purpose of picking an actor if like the whole point is to like not recognize him. I don't know, but I just think he's just a really great character actor. He's always been. I don't think he's ever done anything bad as far as I can tell, and I feel like he hasn't done crazy clown yet. So why not throw him into something along those lines? You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
That's the thing is like I feel like Jack the Clown is sort of the character slightly based off of Jack Nicholson's like Joker, because like obviously, you know, it's maybe not a Universal production, the original Batman film that came out in, I don't know, 80 whatever. But I do feel like there's part of the inspiration that was pulled from there, at least for the original Jack that was in the Parks commercials, whatever, stuff like that. Maybe it's slightly different now. The character is morphed a little bit away from that, but that's what I feel like with a lot of the icons. It's like it will have been pulled from somewhere previously, at least with Jack and with Chance as well. It's probably an obvious one.
Yeah, they definitely like dig into pop culture for some of these. Obviously, with Jack the Clown and Chance, is kind of that Joker Harley Quinn style bond. So I guess going right into Chance, I picked Rebel Wilson, Fat Amy from Pitch Perfect.
It's an interesting choice.
I think she's hilarious.
Different choice.
I think she's hilarious.
She is funny.
I don't know. I viewed her I went off of like imagery for that one. So I think Rebel Wilson could pull it off.
Okay. I put Mia Goth.
Mia Goth? Okay.
Mm-hmm.
I think I have her somewhere down the list. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I have her somewhere. She is a horror staple at this point. Mm-hmm. Any other Chance suggestion?
Yeah, I couldn't come up with one. I guess, yeah, it would kind of be like, see, for me, it's like, you think Jack, you think Joker. So I'm thinking if you think Chance, you think Harley Quinn. So who would be a good Harley Quinn? We've already seen a number of versions of her before. So it's hard to really think of someone that would fit that character. Yeah, I don't know.
There's an obvious one if you're going to go with Margot Robbie. Because of Harley Quinn, like we had mentioned previously. But I feel like there's somebody else in there that's like, I don't know, like a Charlize Theron, who was in the Mad Max, not the most recent one, but the one before that, as kind of a little bit unhinged of a character. And she has great work elsewhere as well. But I don't know.
The Fast and the Furious saga, where she plays, was it Cypher? She plays Cypher.
I've never seen one of those movies.
Oh!
I've been on the ride.
They are amazing.
That's unfortunate, too.
It's a cinematic masterpiece. They go from stealing VHSs to driving cars into space. It's amazing. The Caretaker. This one I know I used previously, but I think it's too good of a fit. But I could perfectly see Willem Dafoe as the Caretaker.
You stole mine. Yeah, because you think of The Lighthouse. I mean, he was a caretaker in The Lighthouse, and he was insane. It was an incredible performance. So, and plus, let's be honest, Willem Dafoe steals the scene in everything he's in. Like, I don't think there's been anything where you forget that it's him. Like, you know that it's Willem Dafoe, but at the same time, he is so good at portraying just a multitude of characters that he just would fit in this role like nothing. So yeah, thanks for stealing my idea.
I had to.
He also played like a very similar character in Poor Things, which is the movie with who else is in that?
Is that Emma Stone?
Emma Stone
and Mark Ruffalo.
Yeah.
she plays like the 12-year-old in like a 30-year-old's body or something like that.
Yeah. I mean, I think he'd be. Honestly, I don't even have anybody I could suggest for that. Like,
I couldn't think of anyone for the caretaker, so I'm glad you guys had a couple. I was trying to think over it for a minute, but I feel like it comes more to mind when we start talking about it than thinking off the top of my head, because all of a sudden I just forget all these actors miraculously when I'm actually trying to think of things for it.
I have to
Right.
search through. I'm floating
Right.
through IMDb when I'm doing this stuff.
Mhm.
So the director, sort of underutilized, I think, but again, another person that I think fits perfectly for just the imagery as well, be Adrian Brody.
Okay.
Kind of that like sleek, creepy style character. Every time he's in one of the Wes Anderson movies, I like him a lot in those. So, any other directors?
I mean,
Yeah, I have one that you may or may not recognize the name, but it's Dominic Cooper, and he plays young Howard Stark in the original Captain America. That's what most people would recognize him from. I believe he's in. It's not Reverend. It's Preacher. Is it Preacher? That's it. I don't know if it's that or not, but he's in a few things. I think he's a British actor, so he hasn't been in a ton of American film recently that I can think of. But then again, he might be in a bunch of indie stuff that I've never watched. But I just think of that Howard Stark character, that very like prim 1930s, 1940s, like, you know, button down and vest, and I just have the image of the director with the little hand camera doing his thing.
Yeah,
and he fits that perfectly for me.
Yeah,
this is going to be the most like typecast casting possible, but I would have to go with Quentin Tarantino.
Okay.
That makes sense.
I can definitely see that too,
Meta.
for sure.
I feel like the director is more like, you know, held back, at least when it comes to being up in your face. Like, it's supposed to be unassuming, and Quentin Tarantino would play it definitely in your face. But I feel like I think it could be good. Also, he knows how to use a camera, from what I've been told.
Yeah. Rumor has it he's pretty good at doing this stuff.
Yeah.
The usher, who's kind of, I always view hand in hand with for director.
For the director, just one.
Yeah.
Sorry, Jake Gyllenhaal.
Okay,
yeah, that makes sense. I could see that.
I kind of think, obviously, more so from his character with Donnie Darko, is kind of that vibe I get from going for that. Mm-hmm.
There was also a movie that he was in that was where he was like one of the whatever TMZ reporters. He would like follow the accidents that happen and stuff like that. What was that? I wrote a paper on it in college. Nightcrawler. That's perfect.
Yeah, that's a good movie.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
but that was all I had.
That's a good one though. I didn't think of Jake. So then the usher, I really just go off of like what these characters look like and who could like be that creepy, bony looking kind of person. And he already is that creepy, bony looking person. I put Cillian Murphy.
Oh yeah.
Peaky Blinders, Oppenheimer.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah. I think that's who I would.
And it's just to protect you from all the comments. It's Cillian Murphy, not Cillian.
Cillian Murphy. Yeah. The authentic Irish.
I'm waiting for the one person to be like, it's Cillian Murphy, like good, not so.
He's pretty silly.
Yeah, that one. That guy. You knew who I meant.
Sorry.
Any other ushers?
Yeah. So I have Elijah Wood.
Okay.
You know, Frodo the Usher, but obviously he does more than just Frodo. I just think he kind of fits that same type of mold of kind of like the director's sidekick. I think when we did this episode originally, however many was it, 3 years ago, 4 years ago, I think I had done like a buddy movie with director and Usher, and it was, and I kind of wanted like Elijah Wood and somebody else. So I might be stealing this from that episode, but I think he just fits that character perfectly.
You can't steal it if it's ours.
Yeah, I guess so.
It's called repurposing.
Yeah, I feel like
for a new audience. Sorry.
No, you're good. I feel like if you're an usher in a movie theater, typically those are on the younger side of things. I worked as a movie theater usher straight out of college because I couldn't get any other work, and I feel like you'd have to cast that a little younger, somebody who is already playing younger roles but is kind of graduating into that older thing. Roles would be Timothée Chalamet. He really likes flexing his range, and I feel like this would be something he hasn't done quite yet. And I feel like he'd be a good fit as long as he's the leading role, because I don't think he's been like a supporting role in quite a bit of time.
No, yeah, he's definitely not
Yeah, I like-
all those top billions.
I love that, and I love.
Yeah, I
him.
like that.
That's a good pick. For sure.
I didn't even think of him because I it might be a hot take. I just don't see a lot of the movies that he's in. Like, I'm not a huge fan of Dune. I haven't seen the Bob Dylan like biopic yet.
I want to see it. It looks good.
Yeah, it's one of those things that I kind of just forgot came out, and then I'm like, oh, it's on VOD. I'll just get it now. I feel like there's only one right answer for the storyteller, and that
Go
would
ahead.
be
You can have it.
you could say it because I took your last one, but I know you're going to say the same one as me.
I have Lin Shaye.
Yep.
Yeah, right. So I mean, it's kind of like, oh, so it looks like Jamie might have somebody different.
Oh.
I think
But
Lin
yeah.
Shaye's too nice to be the storyteller.
Oh,
She is pretty
maybe.
Switch up
badass.
for
She's
her.
pretty badass.
Maybe.
But I had Kathy Bates.
Oh, that's actually a really good one.
Thank you.
That's actually, yeah, I didn't think of that. Kathy Bates would make a really, really good storyteller. Trying to
This'll
think if
be-
there's anybody else.
This will
but-
be one of like 10 times I'm going to say "hear me out," but hear me out. Kristen Wiig.
Okay.
I think
Go on.
obviously it would have to be more of a comical
Kristen Wiig.
approach to it.
Uh-huh.
But she could be serious once in a while. I'm sure. I haven't seen it, but I feel like she fits at least the look, or she can fit the look based off of her many characters from Saturday Night Live. So I don't know.
Okay. My first.
You don't have to say
introduction-
"hear me out" because Nick already dropped. What's her face? Rowan
Rebel
Wilson or Rowan Wilson, whatever her
Rebel
name.
Wilson.
Rebel Wilson. So I think you're okay.
Okay.
The next ones are sort of these like a little bit like weirder that haven't really appeared too much, but I did throw them some love. For the Terror Queen, I just put Zoe Saldana. I feel like she's pretty typically cast in those like heavy makeup roles coming off of.
I didn't think
Avatar
of
and
one for
Guardians.
her, but now that you say it, I'm blanking on her name. But the actress or actor that just played Elphaba in the Wicked movie, I think she'd be really good as.
What is her?
I forget her name, but she would be really good as her.
Yeah, surprise, surprise. I have not seen Wicked.
Yeah, I haven't seen it either, but I've seen her as the character, and I've heard good things. So
Cynthia Erivo.
yeah, there you go.
think it is.
Couldn't think of her name. Or, and again, another suggestion I'm going to toss out there: the actor that played the bad guy in Deadpool and Wolverine. She's also really, really good, especially playing a bad guy.
Yeah, what was her?
I don't know her name either. I'm really bad with names.
Yeah, that one's like a deep cut. That's Emma Corrin, I think it was.
There you go.
Yeah. Jamie, did you have any for Terror Queen? This is kind of a obscure one.
No, I did not. I just put like the main ones, the main roster.
Then Ryan, any Terror Queens? Or are we moving on?
Honestly,
these are bizarre characters.
Listen, I got like a Dr. Oddfellow. That would be
Okay.
the easy-
I do too.
easy
I do
one.
too, actually. So I'm glad that someone else did. I was worried that I'd be the only one.
So I'm gonna fire through these next two so we can get to the good, the recent icons that we actually can like talk more about. But for Fear, I took Bill Skarsgård just because he's that weird
Yeah, I mean,
creature character.
I didn't pick one for Fear, but I would just default to what I used before, which is, oh my God, Benedict Cumberbatch, kind of like he did Smaug. Same
Yeah.
idea.
Yep. And then Lady Luck, I just went for the redhead. I hit Emma Stone up for that one.
I did Shailene Woodley
Okay.
because I think she's really good at certain roles, and I feel like Lady Luck would be something she could really, really, really dive into.
Mm-hmm. So let's one away from Oddfellow. I'm kind of going in years at this point, but Pumpkin Lord. Did anybody do anything for Pumpkin Lord? The big
I didn't.
farting, disgusting, gross thing that they decided.
Kevin James,
I
Jack Black.
Jack Black. I feel like is the
would go with Jack Black. I'm cool with that. I put Josh Brolin just because I was like, Thanos
I mean,
style.
definitely not a comedic actor, but that would work.
No. So let's get to Oddfellow then. Ryan, who did you have for Oddfellow?
So the thing is like I did write a pitch for I'm it's not really the best pitch, but I'm going to go over it now for like a Vamp 69, like Scare Zone movie series, whatever. And I feel like if you're going with like the Jimi Hendrix version of Oddfellow, a more musical type, obviously not the same type of music, but I think Donald Glover would be great. I also think he has the ability to be that character, unlike there's a lot of other like, you know, people that would fit that role physically, but also like he's got the range for that for sure.
Yeah. No, that's a good pick.
Did either of you?
Yeah, so for Oddfellow, I actually went with Yahya Abdul-Mateen. He is the lead from the new oh my god, the new
Matrix.
Candyman. Jesus Christ,
Candyman.
I'm getting old. He is the lead from Candyman, I believe. What was the other thing I saw him in?
He played Morpheus in the newest.
That's right. He was Morpheus in the new Matrix. I just think I maybe not so much as Ryan was saying with the Vamp 69 era version, but I'm thinking more of just the traditional Oddfellow that we got up front. I feel like he would fit that role, partially because he gives off a lot of Candyman to begin with. Like I feel like that's a very Candyman type icon, and I think that he would fit that role really well.
That was who I had for.
Because I was also going to say Daniel Kaluuya. I don't know if I say his last name. I'm sorry, Daniel, if you listen to us.
Yeah, right. From Get Out.
From Get Out, from Black Panther, a number of other things. Nope, he was in Nope. I think he would fit in that role too.
Jamie, did you have anybody for Oddfellow?
No.
And then the final one, the ones that we had last year, Sinister Surreal. I put them just as...
I didn't even think of them.
I just put them as one person. I just put Mia Goth playing both of them.
That's kind of cool too.
She had
split
that
personality kind of.
Yeah.
She had the split in the original X where she played both the younger and older version. She had Pearl and whatever the character's name was in X. But I put her in that role just because I am a completionist and I put the list in front of me and I had to force myself to do it whether I wanted to or not.
I completely blanked on them, but give me Jamie Lee Curtis. How about that? And she can play both of them.
There. Well,
or just hire the twins from Horror Nights because they're really good at what they do too. So they could just play them.
They're probably grown up at that point. All right, so now that we've stepped out of the Icons anthology style series, because I figured that was going to be what everybody wanted to hear and who was going to be who, let's just go round table now into some of our pitches. So, Ryan, what was one of your pitches that you had for us tonight?
So, a little bit about me. My favorite Halloween Horror Nights house of all time, I think this is actually where we kind of connected a little bit previously, at least in some comment sections, would be Dead Man's Pier, Winter's Wake from Halloween Horror Nights 31. I actually have my entire tattoo sleeve, if you're watching video version, is like kind of inspired by it. I got a bunch of different fun stuff. I just love it so much. Now, I know there's already some movies that already exist within the same realm of that. If you're talking about the Lighthouse movie starring Willem Dafoe and Robert Pattinson, we kind of touched on that previously. But no, that is not the one that I'm referring to. The one I'm referring to that's been made previously is a little movie called Haunted Lighthouse 4D. I guarantee you none of you are familiar with this. This is a 2003 film starring Christopher Lloyd that only aired in SeaWorld 4D theaters. And so this is like buried deep in my mind from me being a child. So, I mean, I guess if you're talking about casting the Ghost Sea Captain, I feel like, you know, the character he already played in the SeaWorld movie would have to go to Christopher Lloyd. That or Jeff Bridges. If you're unfamiliar with the house, you do this first room technically that you enter in is like this old ghostly bar, and there's somebody behind the bar who's this like sea captain guy who's got a white beard. I feel like either Christopher Lloyd or just a guy who's known for having a beard. Jeff Bridges would be great as well. And then other scare actors / characters that are featured in this house are the undead fishermen. I think Paul Giamatti would do great with some extra prosthetics as being this like dead whatever. I mean, we all know that he looks good in blue anyway. So for the deep sea diver scare actors, I'd have to go with somebody like Michael Cera because I'd find it so funny to see him inside of one of those costumes. And then for the siren at the end that's playing the violin on top of the massive ship, I'd have to go with somebody who has previous musical experience, somebody that kind of fits that role a little bit and now is, nominated for a great acting role that she did in a movie recently, Ariana Grande. There you go.
Yeah.
That would be, and also that would sell the tickets. I feel like if you're trying to get people into the movie theater to see this movie, I'd love to see it produced by A24. I feel like a lot of these are going to be like, okay, that's the right like feel to this, at least for me. But yeah, Dead Man's Pier, again, my favorite house of all time in Horror Nights history. Even though I've only been going for 5 years, I still think it's the best. It's
an all-timer. So I'll piggyback off of you because I also did Dead Man's Pier.
Okay.
Again, also connecting, that is one of our, I think, collective favorite houses. Me and Seamus, originally from Massachusetts, that one like hit us in the feels even more so than not. So when we first heard it announced, I was like, oh, fuck yes. Like, here we go. So mine was built a little bit differently. In my casting, I only did 2 cast members, and I thought it was funny, but I kind of viewed this as sort of like a mix between The Fog and The Perfect Storm. And I want to like do like a little bit like a 30-minute build up, so you get that emotional connection where it's that first 30 minutes is really like the crew at sea, ending with them kind of dying, and then it kind of shifts and you're like, oh, this is actually where the movie starts now. And then obviously they come back to life and kind of take over the town. There's this, I viewed it as they're sort of attacking the town because there's some sort of sabotaging that went into like capsizing the boat. So they're kind of seeking revenge that way. I'd like to bring John Carpenter back out of retirement and have him helm this one. And for I went Office related. I put the captain as Krasinski. He's got the New England vibes. And then I put the widow as Jenna Fisher. I was like, you know what? I could find a way to shoehorn the Office in here. But I don't know if Jenna's got the acting chops, but I know Krasinski does. I think kind of like A Quiet Place and stuff like that showed his horror side where he can actually kind of act with the best of them at that point. And being a New England guy, I feel like he could fit the role. And that's why I went with Krasinski first, and then I was like, you know what? Instead of stealing A Quiet Place and just throwing Emily Blunt in there, I'll just go like something for the fans of The Office and throw Jenna Fisher in there.
Would there be cameos from other previous Office cast members too? Is like Stanley going to be walking around with a pretzel in the background, like an undead Stanley? Like,
I was honestly thinking that like the crew could have been like Rainn Wilson, Steve Carell, also a Mass native. Like, just find a way to shoehorn them in there. It would be so obscure to see them actually. You wouldn't be able to take it serious, but like the tone would be so serious and weird. It would be a bizarre situation.
It just sounds like this would have been a Saturday Night Live digital short that they would have produced, like making fun of the Deadliest Catch or something.
Yeah,
but it's all Office cast members.
This is probably like Michael Scott's, follow up to whatever it was called, Midnight. I forget the movie he made in The Office, but he made this very bad.
What is it called?
Something Midnight.
Yeah.
Where Jim plays Golden Face.
Yeah.
It's gonna kill me now that I can't think of it too.
I'll search it at some point. But Jamie, why don't you get one of your pitches out there?
Okay, so one of mine I had was HR Blood and Guts presents Holidays of Horror from HHN 21. Little throwback, one of my favorite houses. So I kind of did like a little, I guess, synopsis for it, or like what it was. I feel like you went really into depth here, Nick. I mean, I'm feeling like I'm a little slacking a little bit, but I did like a director and score and stuff too. So essentially, how you would probably assume it would be interpreted, an anthology TV series going over each different holiday, diving into the backstory of HR in between segments, kind of like how you see in the found footage kind of style films today, like VHS and stuff like that, where they break it into little segments but connect it together. I had David Dastmalchian as HR Blood and Guts. I feel like I don't know, maybe it's just because with seeing him in Late Night with the Devil recently, that kind of like game show host kind of vibe, I think he would fit that really well. So in the house, before you would go in, they had a movie playing on the outside, kind of showing HR Blood and Guts torturing his like assistant or like one of like the movie guys that was on set and stuff like that. So I had that person played by Justin Long. I thought that
Of
would be good.
course.
I feel like I love
Of course
Justin
you do.
Long, but also I feel like he always gets roles like that, so he'd be perfect for this. Hear me out here, Ryan. I take this from you, but for the director, I had Eli Roth.
Okay.
I feel like it's a little over the top, but I feel like with the holiday stuff, he does really well with that, and I feel like it could still kind of be a little bit B horror too from his original Thanksgiving that he came out with back in the day. And then scoring wise, I had Charlie Clouser doing the score, which is the same composer who did the score for Dead Silence. So
Okay.
kind of that like melodic, creepy, synthy kind of style. But yeah, and so that's what I had for my first one.
You even brought composers. You went more in depth than me.
I did know a little bit, but I feel like I didn't pan out the whole film like you did. Kind of just like what it was going to be following, that style or setting. But you really had the details, so I like which way you guys both went with the Dead Man. So that was good.
I like that. I feel like you're gonna pick more older style HHN properties than
I did.
us. Because I picked a lot of pretty much new stuff at this point because I wanted it to be a little bit more relevant. So, Seamus, did you have one you wanted to dive into?
Yeah, I've got a few that, again, this is, Nick knows that I'm very good at just, not very good, but I'm used to just coming up with shit off the top of my head. So I'm just thinking of things as people are talking. So as Jamie said, I'm not going to give you an in-depth like plot line. I'm just going to give you what I'm thinking and you can tell me how crazy I am. So I'm stealing Blood Moon because I love that house. That house is one of my favorites of all time. Might be top 3, top 2 even. But I want Blood Moon and I want it directed by Robert Eggers and I want it to be just nothing but Robert Eggers character actors that are in all of his movies. So give me Anya Taylor-Joy, give me Ethan Hawke, give me Nicholas Hoult, give me Willem Dafoe, and just let him do his thing. I want it completely unintelligible. I don't want people to understand what the hell they're saying because it's supposed to be like a 1600s village that all speak old broken English, just like The Witch. I want Nick to hate this movie.
It sounds like I would.
It has to be a movie that Nick doesn't like because if it is something he likes, then it's not what I want. When I see a Robert Eggers movie, I expect Nick to leave the movie going, that was the stupidest thing I've ever watched. And me going, holy crap, that was life-changing.
He didn't get no way.
He just doesn't like The Witch, which is unfortunate.
Well, that's what I'm thinking. I'm thinking The Witch. I love The Witch up until Black Phillip starts talking. Otherwise, that movie is incredible. And I love that it's completely done in the most asinine, like, actual true to life. Even The Northman, if you've ever seen The Northman, which was like his Viking movie, even they were like supposedly talking in like actual like Viking language at the time or something like that. I don't know. He's a lunatic and I just want to see him do Blood Moon in his style. I think it would work.
Well, before I kick it to Ryan then to kind of complete the round table, I'll just jump in on this one because I also did Blood Moon. And I'm curious which direction you would prefer. Well, you'd prefer yours, but I think this one's pretty cool. So the only description I put was a much, much darker, less pretentious Midsommar, and I would have it spaced out as a series. So I would have this directed by Mike Flanagan.
Oh.
I like
See, if you're going to do Midsommar, though, I'd rather Ari Aster.
So, but I want this to be more in that weird Haunting a Hill House vibe.
Yeah,
and
I can see that.
My idea of this is like, there's this, it's almost like The Village without like the crazy stupid twists from M. Night, where they know that they're
He says stupid twist, even though he loves that shit.
I love that movie.
That
was ridiculous. But this is, they know they're in current day, but they're in kind of out of society style colonial living era. And they obviously, stealing just from the story, they worship the blood moon, all these sacrifices. And I just casted 3 leading people as my elders of this community. And that would be Walton Goggins, David Dastmalchian, and Jeffrey Dean Morgan as like the elders of this community who kind of look over it. And then
Those
obviously maybe some...
Yeah,
those aren't bad.
I think they'd play off like pretty well against each other. Goggins is just creepy looking in itself. And I haven't really seen him in... I've seen him in more comedy than I have anything. Playing more in...
Well, he was in The Shield, and that's kind of what got him big, and that he was awesome in that show, and he was kind of a bad guy.
He did Sons of Anarchy, and then
that's right, he was in that too.
Righteous Gemstones is where I view him as little baby Billy or whatever it is, but
I don't hate that. I would only swap maybe Baba Yaga Man for somebody else, like Ron Perlman.
Okay.
Just because Baba Yaga Man feels to me like he just doesn't fit that elder role.
Yeah.
I think Jeffrey D. Morgan's fine. Yeah, I think he's great. What was the other guy you said?
Walton Goggins.
Walton Goggins. Yeah, I guess that could work too, because he was great in Fallout. I don't know if you've watched that yet, but yeah,
a little bit of that. So Ryan, what is one of your next pitches that you got?
Okay, so my next pitch is one that I think somebody also probably has a pitch for, but they're not going to go the route that I'm going to go. This is a house from the Halloween Horror Nights 30 back in 2021. This is Case Files Unearthed Legendary Truth. This is the house that was inside of the Shrek building, the last house in the Shrek building. It was one of my favorites. It was my first Horror Nights house ever. Actually, that was the first time I went, and I was like, you know what? This is great. I fell in love instantly. It feels like this house was made for a film. Like it was the most cinematic house that year, in my opinion. It could easily be a serious, like sci-fi, like noir type film, but I would probably want it to go more of a like Ghostbusters-y type route. Maybe like Ghostbusters mixed with like Watchmen, because it's kind of done in that style. I feel like it would work pretty well. Directed by Jason Reitman, who's the director of the first newer-ish Ghostbusters movies, obviously has history in doing other comedy stuff, other movies that are within that realm. I think it could be done right. When it comes to casting, hear me out. This is, again, one more hear me out. You need Boris Schuster, who's the main character from this house, the main like detective. You need somebody who's tall, lanky, and is very serious about business. You need somebody who's good at doing a like 1940s detective voice, like, well, let me see right over here, whatever, like that, that kind of feel to it. And if we are going the comedy route, there is only one person I could think that is perfect for that role. He has a small background in acting. I'd have to go with Conan O'Brien.
Okay.
He is my favorite of all time. And you cannot tell me he would not look great in a trench coat and a fedora. Did anybody, if anybody covered this, is there anybody else that you would want to see in this type of role possibly?
Well, so you took Case Files. That was my next idea. So that's why I was...
or maybe let me finish the elevator.
Yeah, no, go, because I completely different direction.
I figured. There's only really two more major characters within that house, and that is Tim Foyle, which is the first scare actor that you would see in the house. He's kind of like a conspiracy theorist kind of guy. And I would say I'd have to go with Danny McBride for that. Because if this is a comedy and he's this weirdo, you've probably seen him in Tropic Thunder or Eastbound and Down. Another character that from this house would be Madame Muri, which is the jazz singer within the Kitty Cat Club. The only person I can really think of that could fit well because of her role previously in like Dreamgirls, and obviously she's a musician. Jennifer Hudson would work very well for that. In my opinion, and at least from what I remember, the scare actors that played Madame Muri were like not on the older side, but like not like younger, you know what I mean? And she's kind of at this point in her career where she could probably fit that role very well. So there's my pitch for Case Files, but I know there's at least one more.
Yeah, so I also think that the house is really, really, really good. That is another one that I really fell in love with. I obviously went a different way. I want the dark noir, because it's just one of my things. I love those movies. So I think 7. David Fincher. You have to kind of go with that dark, grimy, seedy detective story. I want Edward Norton playing Boris Schuster. I completely forgot a lot of the other scare actors, so I didn't really think of other characters, but I was kind of thinking more along the lines of just let him take that character and write his own Boris Schuster mystery, and kind of do it along those lines. If not Fincher, obviously we just lost this person, so God rest his soul. But David Lynch also would have done an incredible version of, I think, a Boris Schuster story. Definitely a weirder, different take on it. Maybe a little body horror-ish, but at the same time, I feel like that would work. If not those two, David Cronenberg, and give me a Videodrome mind fuck of a movie set in the Boris Schusser universe. But those are my ideas. I don't have a massive plot synopsis of where they would go with it, but I mean, because if you think about it, by the end of that house, it was so trippy and out there, and the lights and the noise and all the different alien characters. It just made me think of those types of directors where they kind of just go off the wall, and the movies take hard lefts and hard rights, and you're just not expecting it.
And
I think it would work.
I feel like that's what it needs too, because like it's such a weird, like that house, at least you did not expect to see what was, the sci-fi aspect of it, because you wouldn't normally see that. And I mean, my only reference to noir films are like Sky Captain and the World of Tomorrow. I don't know if anybody remembers that good movie.
Yeah.
But, but that also was weird at the end too, but I don't know.
Jamie, did you do Case Files as well?
No, I didn't, but I did a Legendary Truth house iteration as well.
All right. So I didn't do Case Files, but just talking and hearing about it more, it's like I would just put Nick Cage in there, and that would be the Cage Files.
Nicolas Cage. You're so funny. Ryan,
I think all the cases.
I think your casting for this was impeccable. I really like it.
It has to be written and directed by Nicolas Cage too. It can't just be like Nick Cage acting in somebody else's movie.
Listen, if we're going low budget, like that's most of the movies where he does that stuff.
Right.
So, that's fine.
But so Jamie, then why don't you jump into your Legendary Truth style?
Yeah. So, and if it looks like I'm looking down a lot when I'm talking, I actually wrote everything down today and didn't type it on my phone or on here. So just so I have something to go off of. But I ended up doing Legendary Truth, the Wyandotte Estate. This is from HHN 20. I actually did not get to see this house, unfortunately, but just doing some research earlier today, this one really piqued my interest, and I thought it would fit well for the idea that I had. So essentially, this would be a found footage style film diving into the lore behind the spirit seekers and the haunted locations they visit, set up for sequels with the different iterations of the houses we've seen over the years. And so going by the characters that were in this house, you had the spirit seekers. I wasn't sure exactly how many were in them. So I had put 4 for the cast on there, but I also had Malcolm Wyandotte and his wife Lydia, which were the owners of the house before they passed away. And for Malcolm Wyandotte, I feel like this is kind of because I've seen him in roles like Hill House and Bly Manor, but I put Henry Thomas for this role. I just feel like when I picture this house, it was supposed to be in the 1920s is when they passed away. So I think of him in the full suit, kind of how you see him in Bly Manor and Haunting Hill House, very like dapper looking. So I thought he would fit that well. And for Lydia Wyandotte, I put Vera Farmiga for that role. I feel like she kind of fits that quintessential, very like regal look that I think would go well for this. So my Spirit Seekers cast was kind of all over the place, but I had an idea that I was going with this. So Haley Joel Osment for one of them. I have Micah Monroe, because after seeing her in Long Legs, I feel like she fits that detective-esque style very well. And that's kind of one of the few roles we've seen her in some of like the horror and thriller movies. So I think it would be nice to see her in something else like that. And then I also had Alex Wolff, who we've seen in films like Hereditary and Old and a couple other films like that. Nick laughed at me when I put the director for this, but I feel like it would work perfect for a found footage haunted house horror movie. And I put Stephen Cognetti, which is the director for the Hell House movies.
I have no idea what to do with this.
I think it's an interesting idea, though. I think he does the found footage, like epitome haunted house style films very well. And I think he can make it creepier than what it would be, because I feel like it has more of like the thriller aspect to it, but I feel in like that mystery aspect to it, but I feel like this could add more of the horror to it. And then I don't think I did a score for this one. So I did do a score for this one.
Oh, great. I was worried that I didn't have scores either.
So for the score for this one, which I think would lend very well, they've also done the scores for X-Men 97 on Disney Plus. They've done The Haunting of Bly Manor, Fall the House of the Usher. I picked the Newton Brothers to do the score for this. One of my favorite
composers. Jobs to all of your homies that you love.
Pretty much, honestly. I mean, but they just fit for what these films I've come up with in my head, so it works out perfect.
Right. Well, I'll piggyback off of yours because I also did a found footage style movie as well. And that would be for one of my favorite houses from HHN 30, and that's Puppet Theater, Captive Audience.
Ooh.
So this one, found footage, similar to, I was just ragging on Cognetti for not knowing what to do with that, but I would do this film in the style of Hell House LLC and kind of Blair Witch style that. So it's like a group of urban adventurers that discovered the rundown Grandeur Theater, and they decide to kind of investigate it, and wouldn't you know it, that it's haunted, they get trapped in there, and then we found the footage after their demise. But I would have somebody who is pretty familiar with dolls direct this, and that would be James Wan, coming off of Conjuring and Dead Silence as well.
Mm-hmm.
For the cast, I did cast a Pasek, like the leader. So this would be like the head evil of the theater, I guess. I don't know if he'd be full on ghost format or whatever, but it would be Ralph Fiennes from The Menu. He was kind of that big bad. It's that weird horror movie where they get trapped on the island and they're forced to eat all these crazy things. He plays this really, really intimidating, creepy, one emotion style character. So I think he's a very intimidating force. And then for the cast itself, I went younger because I wanted to do that sort of, they kind of threw caution to the wind. They're not thinking everything through. So I just did 3. I did Mason Gooding, who is from the new Scream trilogies, which no idea that was Cuba Gooding Jr.'s son. Didn't know that at all.
Neither.
But apparently it is. I put Finn Wolfhard because why not? And then I threw Catherine Newton in there, kind of filling out sort of the popular that young age zeitgeist, because you got some from the Stranger Things, you got the slasher Scream trilogy, and then you got Catherine Newton sort of from the Blumhouse tree of people. So that's how I would sort of do the Puppet Theater as a movie. So
Puppet Theater was a good pick too. That's a fun one.
That's one of my all-timers right there.
As long as you have one of the kids who's the urban explorers, once they get inside of the place, they address the smell, because that house, the only thing I remember from that house is a few of the rooms and then the smell. Yeah.
Terrible, but amazing. So let's see. Seamus, do you have another one at the ready?
Yeah, I guess so. It's not a house that I'm a fan of. Obviously, we've talked about this. I won't go as far as to say I hated this house. It's just not for me. But that's Triplets of Terror, and I think the easy answer here is Rob Zombie should direct a Triplets of Terror movie, because it's basically his shtick. That's what he is that hillbilly horror thing. But I do feel like if that's the case, that's kind of like him just making another
Devil's Rejects
movie or another House of a Thousand Corpses. I feel like that's just too easy for him. So I'd rather maybe see something in the John Carpenter world, if he is still up to making a movie at this point. I know that he's getting up there in age, so hopefully we get a few more things from him. But I think I'd rather see something along those lines, or give me more of a classic, or maybe even then, not so much in that route. Maybe give it to oh my God, Evil Dead.
Sam Raimi.
Sam Raimi. I think Sam Raimi could also do something with that as well. I think that would fit his style. Mm-hmm. Maybe not just specifically, hey, here's a bunch of hillbillies and they're doing crazy shit to each other. I think they take that Triplets of Terror story and kind of build it off of that, or make it a mini series and have it be like a Goosebumps style series on Disney Plus and have it not be as hardcore.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. If you gave Rob Zombie $5 million to do this movie, he would net you back.
Yeah, and 100%. But I feel like that's just not boring, but that's just that everybody's going to give you that answer.
Oh yeah, 100%. I mean, if he goes from 3 from Hell to Triplets of Terror, it's the same.
Yeah, exactly.
Name right.
You
there.
might as well just obviously we can't, but you might as well have casted Sid Haig and everybody else from those movies. Yeah. Rest in peace.
Yeah. We'll swing it back over to Ryan then.
Okay, so this one, following the trend is of houses we didn't like, but thought of ideas for them. Museum deadly exhibits. I was not the biggest fan of this house this past year. This is the most recent one that I have
Yeah.
on the list, and I feel like there's a very obvious relation to a very popular movie series, Night in the Museum, but it wouldn't be exactly that. If you're unfamiliar with the house, it's basically a museum that comes alive at night because of a rotting stone. Still don't understand exactly. So I would want to see this directed / executive produced by somebody very familiar with this format, Ben Stiller, because he recently, obviously he's back into doing that. I saw a bunch of stuff online with him doing press for Severance, which is a show he executively produced, at least the most recent season of, had very hands-on with that project. I would want to see it done in like short film style, meaning like just a bunch of different series of like a continuation, like just episodes, like YouTube, like a YouTube show, let's say like a Crypt TV, but like episodic and following the same storyline. And then I'd have to say each episode would probably be like its own exhibit. Like you'd follow the same security guard at this nighttime shift of this museum, and you'd go from room to room to room. Each episode would have a different like character actor playing a different role in each room. I don't have those cast, but I do have the main security guard cast, which I would want to see played by somebody who recently has had a big resurgence in his career, Ki Wee Kwan, I think I'm pronouncing that correctly, who is Short Round in Temple of Doom, also in Everything, Everywhere, All at Once. I really could not tell you who I'd want to see in different rooms, but I just feel like he's leaning more into the action stuff recently. So obviously he's got that ability in him to work in a series like this, and also just be that like new trying to figure out what's going on type role, because that's what he does so well. And then the only other role that I would want to see cast is the rotting stone itself, because there were scare actors that played the rotting stone. This I would cast as, you're probably thinking I'm going to say The Rock. It's not. I'm not going for The Rock because that'd be too easy. I'm going to go slightly less difficult. Michael Chiklis. I don't know how to say his last name. Chiklis. Yeah, he played Ben Grimm in the first Fantastic Four. So also a guy who's good at wearing a rock costume. Clearly, I'm sure he wants to move on from that role, but we're throwing him back in the suit one more time for this Museum Deadly Exhibits series.
He goes to his agent and he's like, God damn it, I keep getting typecast as a fucking rock. Like, come on. I can do more than be.
He was on that one show on like USA Network or whatever, too. I don't even remember what it is.
The Shield.
I'm more than a mineral. I'm a mineral. That's a good one.
Can I throw a couple out in the world too?
Yeah,
of course.
These might make you laugh. I don't know. I hope. So, I want a Goblin's Feast movie directed by Peter Jackson, and every goblin is played by Andy Serkis. That's one. The other is I want a Dueling Dragons movie, which is also a house that I famously hated.
Sadly.
Directed by Peter Jackson, with both dragons played by Benedict Cumberbatch.
That one actually might not be bad.
Why not both?
Same movie. That's the same
exactly.
movie, right?
There you go. Combine the two. Dueling Goblin's Feast.
It's the SCU, the Seamus Cinematic Universe.
Right. There you go.
Am I the only one?
Hire me, Universal.
Am I the only one who kept calling Goblin's Feast the Trolls House? I would always refer to it as that. There's so many trolls in the house, and Trolls 2 is one of my favorite movies. And like that's what it is. That's a goblin movie. Yeah. So like, it would make sense.
I feel like Trolls and Goblins are definitely in the same universe, for sure. Same thing, pretty much.
Yeah.
Oh, 100%.
Goblin's Feast, but only Danny DeVito.
That works.
Every goblin.
That's fine.
It's pretty much a different.
Danny DeVito could be he can be the goblins too. Whatever.
As long as Arnold Schwarzenegger is that really tall puppet one at the end that like moved kinda, but not really most of the time.
Oh, there you go. We'll just make goblins.
Was it twins?
The movie. We'll make it like twins, but like goblins instead.
Yeah. So let's see. Where do we leave? Who wants to? Jamie, why don't you throw one out there, Jamie?
Let's see what we got working with here.
Well, Seamus, you kind of took my Rob Zombie one because triplets. Nick had said it earlier.
Sorry.
I'm surprised you didn't pick triplets in here. I was like, well, I did have Rob Zombie directing one, but it wasn't that. But as soon as he said it, I was like, man, that was too good. But
Too easy.
so I had
Too easy.
But so I did Body Collectors from HHN 15 to be directed by Rob Zombie. I feel like I could see that kind of vibe too. It gives me more of House of Thousand Corpses than it does like Three for Hell and Devil's Rejects. But for director, Rob Zombie. Score, also Rob Zombie, since he usually doesn't for most of his
Actor,
films.
also Rob Zombie.
No, he's actually not in this. Shockingly, he got some other people.
Oh, wow.
So the cast that I had for The Gentleman, which is kind of like the Terror Queen's henchman, if you want to call him like that. I had Bill Moseley, who you could also see famously in a lot of his films, Tyler Mane and Kane Hodder, which I kind of feel like I cheated with this one because I just picked all the actors that Rob Zombie usually cast in his films anyways.
Yeah.
But I feel like it would kind of work. For the Terror Queen, you're kind of going to laugh at it because I think I was getting my inspiration from
Sherry Moon.
From Dusk Till Dawn. No, switched it up. She's not in this either, actually. They're both behind the scenes on this one.
Okay.
But I picked Salma Hayek for the Terror Queen.
Oh. Sure.
Kind of inspired from Dusk Till Dawn when she comes out. But this one was kind of a last minute one, so I didn't get to go as in depth for it. So that's all I had for that one so far. So that was just
I like the idea. I never did the house, but I mean, I'm thinking more. Give me like Paul W.S. Anderson, Resident Evil. Give me that feel for the collectors.
That was one of the first years I went to the event. So I was probably like 10 years old, and I was very scared of everything at the time. So this was one of the houses I skipped out on, but now regret it as I'm older. So if I could see it now, this is, I guess, how I would imagine it. But just the outside of it, I remember when I was younger, my dad was really into Rob Zombie and everything like that too. And House of Thousand Corpses came out a couple years previous to this. So they would play the videos on the outside of the house on the facade. And it was all just a bunch of like body work, body horror stuff being done, like people like hacking into body parts and stuff like that. And I was like, man, this really reminds me of House of Thousand Corpses. So I guess that's why I've always felt the inspiration from that one.
Yeah, from everything I've seen and heard, that Body Collectors is like up there as like an all-timer house. This was kind of the home base of that whole Terror Queen, Terror Carentis, where they're just stripping down these bodies using the blood and using the bones, and just kind of, this was like super gore house. So
yes,
it would be kind of fun to see that. Zombie, that makes sense. I got two more, and one's really quick, so I'll do the first one that's like more real. And that would be revisiting Scarecrow the Reaping. Obviously, famously as one of the scariest houses at Horror Nights. And I would set this present day. And when I was coming up with this, I kind of was like, oh, wait, I'm sort of using a movie that was pretty bad, being the remake that came out on Netflix of the Texas Chainsaw. But it's kind of this like old farm Depression era style town. And some farms have closed down, some have not. So a new couple kind of comes in and buys one of the farms and is sort of warned to like not mess with anything. This town kind of runs itself, so to speak. But I would have Scott Derrickson direct this, from Black Phone and Sinister. I want this to be like a really dark, really scary style, like just vibe, I guess. And the main actor that I really want is, I want Sam Elliott in this as sort of like almost like the leader of the town, kind of like in that Western vibe, but he's kind of like the townie that doesn't want the new family here because he knows it'll kind of mess with the curse or whatever. So he kind of plays that like kooky role that like is trying to warn them out of here, but also trying to really just maintain the peace of the town. And then I would have the new couple be played by Florence Pugh and Michael B. Jordan. I think Florence Pugh coming back into the horror world, and Michael B. Jordan kind of dipping his toes into it. I don't think he's done horror. He's done just about everything out, though.
There's a new movie coming out with him, I thought, called Sinners, I think. I don't know if it's a horror or a thriller. Yeah.
Yeah, he does a lot of those action thrillers, but he's done, obviously, Creed and Black Panther. And I would like to see him in one of these roles, and then Florence Pugh kind of returning from Midsommar, kind of not same vibes, but in that sense where she's sort of the outsider in this new community. But I think with Derrickson kind of at the helm, this could be a really dark, not as gritty, but just that sinister vibe where it was just everything was so dark in that movie. It was just so tense that I would kind of do that. And I didn't cast a scarecrow, but you could throw, I guess, Skarsgård in there. He just does that role every single time somebody calls him. Or you could have what's his name? Art the clown. Have what's his name?
David Howard Gordon.
Yeah, sure. Have him be the scarecrow.
See that?
But that's what I had for Scarecrow the Reaping.
That's a good one.
Yeah. Who else has some more left they want to fire off?
I have one kind of small one left that I worked on. This is my one I kind of worked on last minute. This is actually mentioned by a couple people on the Instagram post too. Jesslyn mentioned this one, and I was like, that's literally what I had in mind. So this one was an anthology film for Slaughter Cinema 1 and 2, kind of combining some of the movies from those houses. So I was kind of picturing this being similar to Trick or Treat, to where how all the movies have that tie-in connection to it, even though it is set up like an anthology with the different segments. I want it to be hosted kind of like, I feel like I've seen a couple different anthology films this way, but hosted like radio show, kind of like podcasting style, I guess, where the host would be announcing the different segments, so on and so forth. But I had Felissa Rose casted for this as Angela from Sleepaway Camp, for those what she's been in. And then for director, I had Michael Daugherty, which is actually the director from Trick or Treat. I feel like when it comes to anthology horror films, I really enjoy them. I know Nick is not the biggest fan of them sometimes, and I feel like it's either hit or miss with how the connections are, but I feel like with that film, he tied everything in really well, even with being such differing themes. So I feel like he could do good with the Slaughter Cinema movies, maybe, if he was ever to make something like this. But I picked 4 different movies, well, kind of 5, that I thought could tie in together. So Heavy Metal Hell 3D, Shitty's Kids from the first Slaughter Cinema, Mardi Gras Murders from this last one, and then either Sorority Sacrifice or Cult of the Beast Baby would be the combinations of the films we would be seeing portrayed through this. And then the score I had for this one was done by Disaster Piece, which is the artist who did the score for It Follows, which is a very synthesized, trance-like kind of dream-like kind of music. Very interesting, and I think would kind of fit well with this. So that was kind of what I had for that one. Yeah.
Slaughter's one I sort of stayed away from just because I knew you would probably do it. And anthologies are tough for me to, I would almost like have it be different directors taking the roles of different movies.
That'd be cool,
sort of have it in that sense, but
I feel like approaching Slaughter Cinema, the houses, like it could be done in like a Netflix series, kind of like that Black Mirror. I don't know if anybody's seen that series at all, but like each individual episode, just completely unrelated story. Just go like, and obviously it'd be a horror based version of that, not just thriller. And like, I feel like there's a lot of actors we've mentioned that have been in Black Mirror or the Black Mirror before.
They have a pretty good cast.
Yeah, I mean it's and I feel like all those are done in the similar style where like, oh, okay, that could just be adapted to a slightly different aesthetic and it could work pretty well.
So. I like that idea too.
All right. Jameis, do you have a last one? Because I got one last one. Ryan, are you all?
Well, originally I thought it was going to be really like I was going to do a funny thing and just name progressively, like start with a pretty less popular IP house and pretend like I didn't know it was IP and just like cast it, and then you guys I'd be talking too much so you wouldn't correct me, and then I'd do it again and it'd be like more like popular, and then I'd end with like Stranger Things or something. And just like cast who's like already in it and just be like, whoa. But I don't think that would have been worth the joke to like waste a lot of time, but I don't know, it would have been funny. But yeah, honestly, like I mentioned like a Vamp 69 type of movie or something like that, I think would be great. It would be very low budget, and whoever they could cast from that 70s show that's not Danny Masterson would be great. in that for obvious reasons, or just put Danny Masterson in it and just kill him really quick.
He's always killed. He's the body double for every murder.
Oh, it's not even him. Like, obviously he can't be in there. They like deep fake him, and they just like a brutal murder beginning of every episode.
Just shitty AI, like CGI on somebody's
it's just
body.
so bad. Like
it's like a female's body, but Danny Masterson's like stupid curly hair on it. The last one I have, which I think I kind of want to see the most, is I would make this in like the version of it having being like a shitty throwback like 90s like Disney style Halloween movie, almost like a Halloween Town style, like a Goosebumpsy kind of thing. It's not scary at all, but it's just like that bad horror, that bad Halloween, and that would be Major Sweet's Candy Factory.
Oh, so like the house.
Yes, exactly. Directed by Tim Burton. Okay. And I would have, this is where you have to have Danny DeVito as Major Sweets, obviously.
All right.
I would have Octavia Spencer as Miss Treats, who played Ma in that creepy, she was just bizarre in that one. And then I would have to have Jack Black play Taffy.
Okay.
Taff,
I needed to be in that 90s Disney style world. Almost like Season of the Witch mixed with like Luck of the Irish.
So you wouldn't make this animated? Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, it'd be live action.
Okay.
Would it be too close to all the other live action spooky Disney style movies that Jack Black has done in the past 5 years? Because he did do like Goosebumps and then that other one that wasn't Goosebumps back to back.
Oh yeah.
I feel like maybe he would, as long as he's not Major Sweets himself, I feel like he could get away with it.
Yeah. As with Taffy, you almost like wouldn't even recognize like.
I
would leave like just enough that you knew it's Jack Black. I mean, you would know from his mannerisms, but he would just be so covered up in just random bullshit candy and taffy.
Is there anybody that you'd like to see as like the health inspector for that?
Ooh.
That comes because like that's a major part of the house is that like they kind of went after these health inspectors and just killed them because like that's how you get away with this type of business.
Yeah.
I feel like you could go with like a what's his name? Oh, why am I blank? Who's the guy he's in every Adam Sandler movie. He's got the skateboard. He's like, hey, what's up, kids?
Oh, Steve Buscemi.
Steve Buscemi.
Steve Buscemi. There you go. As the health inspector. That's perfect.
Or just give it to Happy Madison and make be like Hubie Halloween 2, essentially.
Oh, yeah. I mean, it could very well be an Adam Sandler movie, too.
Yeah.
That's a good point.
Happy Madison production. Sandler as Major Sweets. You could have David Spade as Miss Treats. You could have,
but you'd have to deep fake Chris Farley into it somehow too, right?
Chris Farley be Taffy.
That would be great. I mean, honestly, any of the Adam Sandler's friends could be in this. Like, they just create new characters. Yep. Just make kid versions of like Rob Schneider and Chris Rock. Just like they just like make them look like 1,000 years younger. Yeah. It would work. It'd work just fine.
It'd be like that bad CGI in Fred Claus where they made, I forget the actor, but they turned him into like the little elf, but it's just so blatantly obvious his CGI'd face. Yeah. Well, this was a fun one. Ryan, thank you for joining us. I love doing these like weird off the cuff style episodes, especially in, like you mentioned earlier, the kickoff in the literal middle of winter, talking about Halloween Horror Nights.
Not that there's not things to talk about right now. There's a whole lot of rumors going around, but I'm glad I could hop on for this episode. That's kind of deviating away from that for a little bit and try to flex some creative muscle in my mind while I'm working on 8 different projects at the same exact time. So,
yes, always fun. We'll love to have you back. Before we take off, why don't you take a minute to kind of let everybody know where to find you and exactly what you do and everything like that.
So like I said previously, my name's Ryan. I've got a channel on YouTube, on Instagram, TikTok, pretty much all the platforms, called For the Love of Theme Parks. Right now I'm doing a lot of like history documentary style stuff on different Disney and Universal defunct attractions, or different things like that a lot of people have been doing for years and years, but I'm trying to take a slightly different approach where I go kind of on the scene of the crime and and try to document it is a little bit slightly different from what people have been doing recently. And I just dropped a video on the Disney dollar, which is Disney's fake currency that they put out in the late 80s. that failed, and that one's a fun one. But if you're looking for more horror-based, Halloween horror-based content, I've got some fun videos from this past summer, including talking about Islands of Fear, which I'm sure if you're listening to this, you already know all the details on. But I'm looking to do some more stuff like that coming up soon. I just got to get through this epic hump that is coming, barreling very fast towards all of us, which I'm hoping you guys will cover a little bit. Are you planning on at least going to one of the lands?
I got tickets for Which is it going to be How to Train Your Dragon? I did. I lucked out. I got tickets for the first 2 days, so I'll be there for those 2 days doing who knows what. Thankfully, I kind of work down the street from there, so I might just park my car there, walk down at like 2 a.m. and just like start getting in line at that point for
I'm jealous. I will be there the opening day, but I'm not going to be there second day. I'm like third opening and then third day because I had to have time to edit whatever I end up doing, which I have no idea what I'm doing. Everybody's going to put out the same type of video. I'm trying to find a different route, and I know that's something that you guys do too. So like, it's good to see that like there's different approaches to a lot of stuff, and I'm looking forward to. I mean, I'll see you there.
It's going to be a fun. It's going to be a fun, insane time, and I keep going back and forth, and I have discussions with people about Epic too, where it's like. Everyone's like, well, remember when Hagrid's opened and it was like a 5-hour wait? And I was like, yeah, I do, but that was one new attraction versus the entire park. So I think everything is going to be spread out so much that like it's obviously going to be busy, but how busy will each thing be? Because everything is brand new. So it's not one thing you're rushing to. So I'm curious to see where the crowds kind of lean towards. I'm thinking probably Nintendo and Harry Potter would be the heavy hitters, but I think most of us will be kind of belly up at that little monster bar trying to just pound as many pails of ale as I can before throwing up on other virtual rides.
Listen, I don't even know where I'm starting yet, but I feel like I'm just going to, I mean, Celestial Park is like one of the coolest lands, but nobody's gonna be there opening day. So maybe I'll avoid the crowds and head there first. But we'll see. Yeah, I don't know.
My whole thought on it is I don't have a list or a game plan. I don't care how much or how little I accomplish. I just want to be there. Say I was there. Yeah, I'm just happy to be here, man. I could sit down on the bench and eat $20 popcorn and just be happy as a pig and shit. Like I'm there. That's all I need to do is just kind of soak it in. But I also was going to bring up your Disney dollar video. That was
me too. I didn't even know that was a thing.
Yeah, I still have some Disney dollars from way back in the day.
Do a quick search and see what they're worth, because I spent almost $100 on a Mickey bar, spending these Disney dollars to see if they worked. So many people in the comments were like, "You should have just asked," and I'm like, "That wouldn't make the video."
That
You could just do a whole new version of it, just a 10-second video. Do you guys still take Disney dollars? Yep. All right, see ya.
And we'll see. Maybe I'll do that.
But either way, thank you so much for coming on. Typically, when we sign off, we do a quick little. I'm Nick. I'm Seamus. I'm Jamie. So after Jamie says her name, if you want to tag along and say Ryan, we can end it. Now that I say it, now I'm kind of forgetting how I've done this for 200 and something times. But until next time, this is Nick.
This is Seamus.
This is Jamie.
And this is Ryan.
Happy haunts.
Thank you for listening to another episode of Fear and Beer, a Halloween Horror Nights podcast. If you like what you heard, don't forget to leave us a 5-star review on whatever streaming platform you are listening to us on. You can find us on all of our socials at Fear and Beer Pod.